CEO Wisdom podcast today with Dimitri Toukhcher. He is founder and CEO at LGFG Fashion House. I just learned that he got banned from LinkedIn, which is funny. We're going to talk about a bunch of interesting topics today. He makes the suits for Jordan Peterson, Alice Cooper, Eddie Hall. I love Jordan Peterson. Well, most of his content. Alice Cooper is a legend, and Eddie Hall, I think he's this strong man. I think I've been following him lately. Congrats on working with all of these folks. Dimitri, can you tell us a bit more about yourselves and a bit more about LGFG?
Sure. So our company is a direct seller of custom clothing. So we sell very high-end suits and related apparel. So shirts, overshirts, safaris, bombers, shoes, all that kind of stuff. Our clientele are wealthy, primarily men, like 98%, 99% men. They're mostly C-suite executives and partner levels at, various firms. So just guys that wear suits a lot and have a lot of money because, they're kind of the guys that are doing all this stuff in the world that's super duper important, running the bigger institutions and the smaller institutions, but primarily very successful men who don't have a lot of time. They don't like to shop. And so at some point they cross to that realm where like somebody that comes to them, like a tailor that comes to their home or their office makes sense. And that's our company. So we service clients in over 20 countries around the world. And yeah, we do have some famous clients like Peterson, Cooper, Eddie Hall, Lennox Lewis. Right now, we're delivering to Zach Wilde, Michael Frances tomorrow. I'm flying off to see Tommy Fury on Sunday. So there's quite a lot of celebrity horsepower that is developed in our brand, which is really fun and cool. And that's just been kind of a nice little perk of the business.
Tell us about how you started, because it probably took you some time to get there.
Yeah, so my background through university was being a door-to-door salesman. I was a book salesman door-to-door. I did that for 6 years. I became quite proficient at selling. So, selling is just approaching random strangers and talking to them. And in this case, it happens that these people were at their house. I would go to their house, knock on their door, and do my thing. And I became quite proficient at it. Like there is a process that can be learned in sales and persuasion. Much like any persuasive mechanism, there's the PUA guys that go out and meet girls on the street. We see all of that online, and some of them become crazy proficient, right? And that's sales to me. And so I became crazy proficient at knocking on doors and selling, in my case, encyclopedias. And then when I wanted to grow up a little bit and, go into a business with a little more status than door-to-door book sales, I made sort of like an outline of things that I was good at, things that I wanted to do, and things that I liked. And things I thought I could be successful at. I mean, being good at it, right? So the confluence of those came to selling suits office to office. So I was knocking on office doors, as introducing myself as the tailor in town and making guys suits. And, over time, obviously perfected those systems through tens of thousands of iterations. And once I got a handle on that, it just became sort of sensible to hire other people and to train them that skill that could help them build a life and a career with their own business in the suit industry, in the clothing industry. And that's how we've grown and developed our company.
How did you first get your first star, quote unquote? For example, tell us about tell us who was your first influencer, quote unquote, that you get, and also tell us how you got Jordan Peterson.
The first influencer was Lennox Lewis. I just really like boxing, and I was thinking about, celebrities or people that I think of celebrities, because keep in mind, I'm 40. So like what I consider to be an influencer or a celebrity is very different from a 20-year-old. Like I didn't, like somebody told me like, oh, there's this Mr. Beast guy. I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is. And I had to look it up. Like, who's that, right? But my kids know him like crazy. So now we live in these celebrity bubbles where, our content is so moderated to us and us alone that we live in a bubble of we just see the stuff we like and more of that stuff. So I like Lennox Lewis. I thought he's just like the best boxer ever. So with him, it was like reaching out on social, and his wife replied that she was interested in our work. By that point, we'd been a pretty successful company. Like we had tens of thousands of clients. There were some famous guys, but they weren't like promoting our brand or anything. They just happened to be famous people we met through the day-to-day grind of our business. So we did some stuff for him. It turned out very beautifully. And then that sort of foisted into Alice Cooper, who knows who Lennox is. And again, we contacted people that the message got through and they saw our work. And, as you build social proof, i.e. guilt by association. Like people start to want to work with you because of whom you already work with. And so Peterson came off the back of Alice Cooper. It was like, we got the message through, which was, takes some time, but we're salespeople. We're good at, sort of snaking our way through social circles and getting information to whom we want to get it to. That's what we professionally do. And he saw our stuff with Alice Cooper, and he replied. He said he liked it, and obviously he knows who Alice Cooper is. And from there, continued to open more doors. So there's a good lesson in that, and that social proof is very important for brands.
And what's the dealio with them? Do you provide the suits? Do you pay like for everything, and they just promote you, or?
Yeah, different situations with different guys. I mean, it depends a lot on the relationship as well. Alice Cooper, for example, I got to spend a lot of time with him in Hawaii, and it was awesome for filming, but I don't have direct access to him. I still work through his manager, and I have a good relationship with his manager, but I'm not like emailing, hey, Coop, what's up? Like, I don't have that relationship with him. Whereas with Eddie Hall, I have an awesome relationship. Like I text with him. So that, and he's just like a great guy. Lennox, same thing, text, when I'm in Toronto, we'll meet up and play chess. Peterson, it's email. Like I'm not at text level. So it depends, the different arrangements really do come back to different relationships. Dan Locke, who I have on my desk here, is in a magazine, in one of our magazines. It's text level, but we're not like buddies. We have a professional working relationship. And so the robustness of what we do back and forth with whom is really dependent on the relationship quite a lot. But we've never given anyone money to promote us, never once. And probably, we never will. I don't see why we would.
Yeah. What's the economics on the suit business? So let's say that fully tailored suit, custom tailored suit, like 10K, how much do you make in terms of margins on the 10K?
Yeah, so our net margin at the end of the day is 23%.
It's pretty good. Why did you choose that business over any other good business? Because you look like a pretty accomplished entrepreneur that could go in various fields with all the skills you've acquired. Why the suit business?
Yeah, so when I got out of school, I went to a pretty good business school, and a lot of my friends, like all of my friends, I had 4 best men at my wedding. One of them skipped a grade of high school. Another one skipped 2 grades of high school. Another one didn't skip any high school, but finished with an honors physics degree, which is like the highest IQ you can imagine in terms of degrees, probably. At least it's up there with math. And another guy's CFA, and all my friends are like CEOs and really successful guys in various organizations, like partner level. And so for me, I think, I was talking to my best friend, who is also a CFA, and he's now a CFO for a bank. So like crazy accomplished guy. He skipped 2 grades of high school. His parents have 3 PhDs between them, like in STEM fields. And I just said, look, man, I don't think I could compete with the people I'm graduating with in business school. Like these guys are super smart. It's very intimidating. And I have a little bit of a knack for non-compliance to authority anyways, because I was, door-to-door selling, and like nobody in my school did that. And he said, find an unsophisticated industry you think you can do very well at. Like meaning that you're going into an industry and you're competing against people that aren't like, super high level, Harvard MBA types. And I thought that's an interesting approach to take. And a lot of those businesses are like trash collecting, sewage cleanup, like they're kind of gross, but none of the very sophisticated people go into them. And suits filled that in a way because I'm competing against artisans, right? Like most of the suit and high-end custom clothing businesses are run by artisan type of people who are really into the art of it, but they're not really business people, which, I thought would be an advantage for me. And I also like the fact that I could learn the product very quickly and it was unregulated, i.e. it's not like insurance or financial services that need more licensing. Because number one, I had this crazy idea that I could eventually go international and have offices in different cities. It was interesting to me, that delusional thought, which somehow became a reality. And also, I wanted to be able to quickly train people to sell the product like Wolf of Wall Street style, which I can just hire them very quickly, train them very quickly, deploy them very quickly, and let's go start making money. And that's the way I thought when I was in my early 20s. And so the suit business really just fulfilled. And plus, I was single when I started the business. So, wearing nice suits every day and talking to hot receptionists was very appealing at the time. So it was just like, it just made sense.
All right. I'm looking at your catalog there. Do you know like Rosenberg in Montreal? Yeah, I'm from Montreal. I think that's where we got our custom suit made. Anyway, it's very small business, right? And a guy like you coming to this business, I'm already seeing tons of innovation. I'm seeing the podcast, which we will talk briefly about, you partnering with other folks. What other pieces of innovation are you seeing that you could implement at your business in short term?
Well, I think, my background in school, I was studying business and computer science. So like, I think a little bit like that. And, I come from a family where like, software development is just like part of my blood. So our business, like everything I want it to be McDonald's level where like, I don't want my tailors making rookie mistakes on, a jacket is a fairly complex product. Like it looks simple when you put it on and it just works. But the reason a lot of these businesses are small is because it's very difficult to transfer the knowledge of how to deliver a good product to a client without being able to systemize it. Like a jacket pattern is three-dimensional. It's incredibly complex. And even guys like me who don't make the suits but measure the suits need to have an understanding of a lot of different things to make it fit. And then a lot of these guys, they'll spend a few years in the business, they'll get very good at the product, but then teaching it to the next guy, well, if that guy's there for just 1 year, he's going to, learn 10% of what he needs to learn. And then he's going to potentially quit the business, and then the owner of the company has to train another guy to do it. So it gets very difficult to scale because there's a lot of human knowledge that's passed from hand to hand. One of the ways we mitigate that with technology, for example, is we have our own pattern software, which is phenomenal. We actually rent a supercomputer in Ireland in order to generate a unique pattern for each client. And there's 50 individual pieces in a jacket, which all like the piece number 34 is contingent on the configuration of pieces 1 through 33. So it's like 50 factorial. It's like 50 times 49 times 48 times 47. That's like 10 times 3 to the power of 60 or something. It's roughly, it's like somewhere in the realm of the number of atoms in the universe is how many possible configurations you can have on a jacket. So just implementing things like that optimize our business for what we need to be doing, which is generating revenue, rather than spending time designing jackets and having those things automated away. And that's been in a lot of different aspects of our business, just focusing on the thing that generates money and getting out of the way of people that are making the money.
How do you become a 1% man?
I mean, I'm sure everybody gives a different answer. My experience, I just had a call with our company about this. My experience working with the clients that I've worked with, there's tens of thousands of millionaires and billionaires. And the question I always like to ask is, what was your shortcut to success? And I like to ask that question because everybody laughs when I ask it, because it's such a stupid question that they know they're being trolled when it's being asked. But it's not, I say it like this, becoming a 1% man is hard but simple. It's simple because there's no secret, but it's hard because you have to show up every day. So it's like, how do you become 1% of weightlifting? You go to the gym every day. When you feel like it, when you don't feel like it, when you really don't feel like it, when you really, really, really don't feel like it, and when you have a lot of excuses, you just show up. And for me, it's, I got to where I've gotten to, and I'm getting to where I'm getting to through sales. So it's just showing up every day for, 10 years, more than 10 years. For probably like 15 years, I was cold calling every day, whether it was knocking on doors or picking up the phone. And not like, 1 or 2 calls and then a long lunch. No, like 30, 40 good cold calls, like prospects I spoke with every day for like 15 years.
The trick here is that like there's no shortcut. There might be luck. You might be able to control that luck and control the statistics in your way, but yeah, and if there are shortcuts, it's 1,000 or 1,000,000 little paper cuts. Do you agree?
I think, well, so look, what happens is 1% is not an absolute term. It's a relative term. And that's important here, right? Like, it's not like there's a 1% once you get in, you get in. There's always a 1%. It's just different people coming in and going out of it all the time. And so by definition, that means when you're going for that, whatever 1% is, you're competing against other people who want the same thing you want, are competing for the same resources you're competing for, right? So it's like, the people in that 1% bracket in whatever industry, in whatever field, they are very, very, very serious about the thing they're doing. And like, you're not going to beat them being a casual. You're not going to beat them if you have 7 side hustles. You're just not. You're just not, and that's a big misconception I see amongst youth today. Like, there's a statistic that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And that is a correct statistic. But what is incorrect about it is that those 6 of those streams of income are coming from their one main stream of income, that they're just, deploying assets from their main business into other things without being involved in them. But every single successful person does one thing and does it better than anyone else.
Are they mostly pain driven or pleasure driven?
Man, I don't know the answer to that. I've thought a lot about that. I've seen both, oddly enough. You know, what you're talking about, away motivation and towards motivation. Yeah, man. Like, I used to think it was like just a way motivation, like pain driven. That's kind of what I've seen, because I think for me, I'm a way motivated. But I've met some people that like actually seem to be pretty wholesome, fulfilled, and happy, and still have that drive, which creeps me out. But it does exist.
It's tricky because it depends at what period of their life you're taking them, and most humans don't have the best memory ever. They won't remember when they were down in the trenches, and this week
Yes,
they're
that's true.
celebrating with their Wall Street buddies their last victories, but they don't remember the hustle and the pain to get there. So
100%, 100% truth. And that's why people say do what you love. It's kind of bullshit. It's like, you're really not going to like some parts of the thing you do. There's nothing you're going to do that you love 100% of it. But we forget. And I was thinking about that, like actually this morning having my coffee, like just remembering some of those struggles. I'm like, man, that I wouldn't be able to do that in my 40s. I probably wouldn't be able to do a lot of it in my 30s, because I went through a lot of that in my 20s. But it's like when you have the least to lose and the most amount of energy and the least to suffer from taking risk is probably in your 20s. So I don't know about women, but like for dudes, I say like, you better choose suffering in your 20s, because you do not want to be forced into suffering in your 40s.
Yeah, well, the thing with pain, I also, and what worries me about next generation is that the pain keeps on augmenting, the noise keeps on augmenting. There's more and more data. The thing in that equation, it's not all bleak, it's like your adaptation, because pain is there, but you choose to suffer on purpose. And then there's the mental adaptation. So I think that people can overcome this pain and the noise that keeps on increasing by 1% daily. You can adapt on your side 5% daily and keep on with that pain threshold to adapt and really be that alpha kind of predator out there. But yeah, that is a fact. If you don't adapt, if you're not improving, and I kind of fear for the new generations, they might get swallowed by this amount of noise out there. Oh, look at this guy on TikTok. He grew to 3 million in like 2 days because of his biceps in his face, and who am I with my 300 subscribers? I think a lot of younger generations, they've got false conceptions. I do think you're familiar with that topic because you do talk with Jordan Peterson. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it hasn't changed. It was the same before as well. It was just a different, it was a different soup du jour.
Right.
So it's like now it's social media. Before it was something else. That was always there. It's interesting. Before, like when I was going to university, entrepreneurship was a dirty word. It's like, that's the thing you did when my parents were like, what are you doing starting a company, fool? That's what uneducated people do. And that was literally the narrative. And that was just, everybody accepted it. Now it's like so sexy. I'm an entrepreneur and So back then, that dream was like the corporate job, that safe thing. Now everybody looks at it, says yuck. So that false idol, it has always been there. It's just looked a little different. And we say, oh, back in our parents' generation or grandparents' generation, all you had to do is like work 9 to 5 and you became rich. No, that's not true. Well, a house only costs $50,000. Yes, because they were buying it in a city that didn't exist yet. Like, go to Nowheresville, Iowa, and buy a house for $50,000, just the same. Nothing changes. So hard work, perseverance, all those things, they're not different. They're the same as they always were. And just like people quit back then, they quit today too.
Right.
So I don't think there's much of a difference.
What do you think about the podcast strategy, being on them, and you had your own podcast? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's just reaching a younger audience we wouldn't otherwise reach in terms of educating young people that are coming out of high school and coming out of university about our company, because we're recruiting young talent to come sell with us, to learn the skills of sales, and to not only build a great company and to make a lot of money doing it, but also to grow their own lives and to become the person they want to become.
Last but not least, I saw that you're recruiting on your website. I see that, yeah, you're quite different in what you're seeking. I really love the energy point. Do you bring the heat when I talk to you? Do you add energy? Do you bring momentum to this convo? Tell us about what kind of employees you're looking for and for what position.
Yeah, I learned that from Jack Welch, who was the former CEO before he died of General Electric, grew the most valuable company in the world. He talks about you have to be energizing. You have to bring energy to the room. And I say you're always responsible for your energy. And nobody wants to work with an energy vampire. Nobody wants to be around an energy vampire. The kids, the guys we look for, I call them kids, whatever, like, young, hungry, wanting a path, maybe a little bit thinking about, what path can I take to be successful? and maybe looking for a little bit of mentorship to get there, to be around other people that, you know, maybe are 3, 4, 5, 6 years ahead of them in life, that can take them under their wing and to teach them and guide them and mentor them, and not just to, and you know, we're not selling training courses online. Like, it's not some guy like, follow me for, like, no, like, people in our company do the grind every day. And I tell people, if you want to get rich, give us 3 years working 10 hours a day and we'll get you there. But you got to give us 3 years, 10 hours a day.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you, Dimitri?
LGFG.com. It's like look good, feel good, LGFG.com.